Hello, Sandro.
Hello, how are you?
How are you doing?
Very fine, very fine. Finished a long day in Strasbourg. I'm in Strasbourg.
Good to see you, and thank you very much for taking the time to be here with our party members and friends, and hopefully future party members at the Movement for Democracy, Greece. Καλώς ορίσατε σε όλους εσάς, φίλες και φίλοι, αγαπητά μέλη. We will have this conversation in English, and we will then have this transcribed tomorrow with Greek subtitles, so that everybody can follow along. Θα βάλουμε υποτιτλισμό στα ελληνικά αύριο, έτσι ώστε να μπορείτε να παρακολουθήσετε και το περιεχόμενο με ελληνικούς υπότιτλους. And would like to maybe start with a brief introduction, perhaps, Sandro, that you could give about yourself as well as the European Democrats, a bit of a background, so that we can place things in context before we address some of the questions we have collected.
Thank you. First of all, Stéphanos, thank you very much for this opportunity that you are giving to me and through me to our friends of the European Democrats, because we are really very, very, very happy of this dialogue that we have opened, and we are sure that we will get closer and closer in our common fight, because we have got many things which are in common, but that we will come back later on that. About me and about the European Democrats, I am a convinced European. I've done several jobs in my life, but basically most of them always dedicated to Europe, to the European cause, to the fight for European democracy. I started very young. I was already a diplomat when I was, I think, 24 and 25. My first experience was the war in Bosnia. I saw Sarajevo under the siege, and that I became even more convinced about Europe. I had already been convinced about Europe by my Erasmus experience in France, but to see so many young people of my age without legs, totally defigurated because of the war, because of the Serbian snipers who were shooting the citizens of Sarajevo. And after all, thinking that I was born only on the other side of the Adriatic, because from my place where there are clear days, you can see the coast of Croatia and of Bosnia. Thinking that
this is in Rome you're talking about, or where?
Well, I mean, I was born in Sogliano Rubicone, on the Rubicon, where the famous river where Caesar passed, which is on the hills of Rimini, the sea resort. And from our place, when it's very clear, you can even see the other side of the Adriatic. And then I lived in Rome afterwards. So, I mean, my only merit was to be born on the right side of the Adriatic. So I saw the war in live, and there I really strengthened my European commitment. And then I worked in diplomacy, I worked in the European institutions. And at a certain moment of my life, I met a great personality, a real friend of Greece, who is Romano Prodi, who was at the time president of the European Commission. And then he became prime minister in Italy. And I was a very young official in the European Commission. And Prodi asked me to join his cabinet. And there, after 5 years with him, I decided to shift from the role of advisor to the role of candidate to the elections, because I thought it was very important to help him to win back power from Berlusconi time. And that's the way I entered into politics, through, a strong relationship, a strong belief in a very good man, a very Democrat, a very good center-left man like Romano Prodi. At the time, it was 21 years ago. The EPP was shifting more and more to the right. They were opening the doors to Berlusconi. They were
sounds familiar. They're doing that again right now.
And they are doing exactly the same. Very right, Stefano. We are living, after 21 years, exactly the same situation, the same trend. At the time, they were opening to Berlusconi, and that's now. Now they would like to open to neo-fascist movement like Meloni, or even worse people than her. And at the time, centrist and center-left people like François Bayrou and Romano Prodi said, what are we doing here? What is happening? This is not our idea of politics, it's an idea of Europe. And then with former socialists, with Green, they decided to create a new European party, and this was the European Democratic Party. And I was in charge to be the operational guy. I was at the time Vice Secretary General of the party. The Sec Gen was a great lady, was passed away of UK 3 years ago. And
so this is 2004, right?
2004. 2004, we founded the European Democratic Party. And then we have entered into new phase, and we changed the logo, and we started to actively search for new partner, new alliance like you, December 2024. That's in December 2024, we really launched a new phase because the trend are the same, similar, as you say. The EPP is going toward the right. Already 20 years ago, we want to go beyond the traditional, with our progressive value, with our humanist value. We wanted to go.
So how would you describe the values of the European Democrats?
We are federalist, European federalist. We are humanist. We are. We want to have a human approach. So yes, of course, free market, open market, but with a strong social cohesion. We are very attached to the social model that we have in some countries. We want to strengthen it at European level. We believe in the single market. We want to make it more efficient, but we also believe in solidarity, in social solidarity. We are humanists. We are strongly attached to the rule of law. We are strongly attached to the fight for real democracy. We don't like oligarchs. We don't like oligopolies. We don't like dynasty that take the power and rule for 30 years. I think they say to the Greeks, that sounds familiar, both on the right and the left. And we are a party which want to go beyond the old cleavages. We do not speak to anybody anymore. So we want to assemble people who share our vision of society, share our vision of Europe, and we want to create something new. This is why we decided also to change the logo. We decided, to open dialogue with you. We look at your movement with a strong interest. We are ecologically balanced. We want to have a balanced approach between economic growth and ecological transition. So we have a balanced approach to the Paris Agreement. We are open. I'm sure that we are going to talk about that. We are open to trade globally on the global scale, but must be a fair trade and not simply a free trade. So, we are not convinced at all about Mercosur, for example, because it's totally imbalanced. It's very punitive of our agriculture, of our interests. We think that
this is going to pass, though, because of Germany, right?
Yeah, it's going to pass because of Germany, but basically most of our members are against, and we have been actively against. My delegation in France, the Belgian delegation, the Germans, all our delegation are against. We are talking about our movement. We are for transnational politics and transnational democracy, and this is what I haven't recalled. I should have started from this. I'm Italian. I'm a former Europe minister. I've been minister in Italy for 5 years with Renzi and Gentiloni. I've been a member of the Italian parliament for 12 years, but I always lived between at least 2 countries, France and Italy, but also in Belgium and UK. And this is why I am elected. I've been elected twice in the European Parliament in France, in the list of François Bayrou, in our list. Why? Well, first of all, because it's really I don't know if my second country or my first country anymore, but because I'm deeply rooted in France, but also because we want to embody the real European citizenship. And we think that you will never have a real European democracy without having the possibility of voting directly the European political parties, of voting transnational lists, which go beyond the traditional national boundaries, which are common to the whole European Union. And this is what I embody.
you were elected to the European Parliament in France as an Italian citizen, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, because I could become French, but I haven't got the French nationality anymore. So it was really as an Italian citizen, because we wanted to really give a strong signal about the European citizenship. The European citizenship means that you are at home in your place everywhere in the European Union. Everywhere in the European Union, as European citizen, you can vote for the municipal election, you can vote for the mayor of the city you live, and you can vote for the European Parliament. And this is what we decided to embody with my candidacy. And apparently it worked, because I've been re-elected in 2024. Now I live in Paris with a family spread around Europe, because a part of my family is in Rome, and a part in Madrid. My daughter is in Paris with me, so whatever. But I mean, this is the personal part. But I mean, personal life is part of our life, isn't it? But this is what I mean. I really stand strong, because I think that there isn't a real democracy without new movement, new political movement, strongly European and strongly federalist.
So let's address a little bit the new ideological trends. One of the big questions we have received is, what is the European Democratic Party ideologically? There is a wide perception in Greece, for example, that the affiliation with Renew Europe group in the European Parliament means that the European Democratic Party espouses neoliberal ideals. So just maybe you can explain to the people listening to us what the positioning of the European Democrats is, the relationship with Renew, and what Renew exactly, let's say, is ideologically relative to the socialists and the EPP, the Greens, etc.
Okay, no, the European Democratic Party, as I said, is a very pro-European party. It's a fight for social cohesion. I think that social cohesion in Europe and solidarity are pillars of our society and pillars of our union. I would describe it as a humanist, center-left progressive movement with a strong will of, as I say, socially justice, economic growth which ensures social justice, which do not leave anybody behind. We are very positive about innovation and technological innovation, but we want to do it with a humanist approach. So, I mean, we think that intellectual innovation is key, artificial intelligence is key, but always with the humanist, human-centered approach. We want to reform the union. We want to, make the union more democratic, more efficient, and stronger. So, I mean, we think that we have to develop a real European defense. We are not there yet. The proposal of von der Leyen are not there, do not go right. I mean, they need to be strongly improved. But we want a European defense.
Let's talk about this, because this is one of the very common questions. Anna is one of the first people who has asked about this and the questions people have submitted. And in particular, it's exactly that. What is the European Democratic Party's position regarding von der Leyen's request for 800 billion euros for defense?
Well, I mean, for us, the only thing which really is real, it counts, is 150 billion. What I want to say? I want to say that, I mean, to build up a real European defense union, is not, the question is not giving the possibility to those who have the money to spend it at national level. So the 650, where she says, well, I mean, let's make the Stability and Growth Pact more flexible, let's allow the member state at national level to spend more. That is not a European defense. The only important thing is this 150 billion, where she say we are ready to make loans, provided that we develop a truly European common project. Because that's the point. The point is to go to produce European public good. Security, defense can be European public good, but they must be developed through truly European common project. So this is why we say we don't like the most of the 800 billion euro. There is a part which we want to develop, because there we can push to have a truly European common defense, which goes hand in hand with the renewed European governance, because we cannot have a strategic autonomy, we cannot have a real European defense without strengthening the European institutions, without strengthening the way the European Union functions. The European today is not efficient enough, it's not democratic enough, and is not powerful enough. We want a Europe more powerful. So we want a Europe which can promote truly public investment at European level, strategic investment in key infrastructure, transnational project. We want a Europe that also invests on its own defense and security, but we want to do it in a democratic and efficient institutional framework. And this is why, for us, European defense goes hand in hand with the reform of the European Union.
One of the questions is about regarding defense, is regarding the equivalent of the Article 5 of NATO in European terms, that an attack on one is an attack on all. What is the European Democrats' position on this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me know that I'm very sorry to have to speak all the time in English. I mean, I have studied ancient Greek, but I haven't studied modern Greek. So, I mean, but I will try to make it up in the next
Don't
years.
worry, even in modern Greece, you're unable to communicate in ancient Greek. So, but we appreciate the fact that you espouse Greek cultural heritage. Did you pursue it in at university or just in high school?
No, only high school. In high school, I studied ancient Greek, the Greek philosophy. I mean, the humanist studies, basically. Yeah. So I'm very attached.
Well, I didn't study Latin. Let me put it this way, you know. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The inverse is not applicable.
I did as well. Our position is in favor, and let me be a little
in favor of the mutual security guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, we have, in fact, in the treaty, we already have the equivalent of Article 5, Article 37. So I have to be a little bit technical, but I think it's important for our friends, your member, that we have already Article 42, paragraph 7 of the Treaty of the European Union, which foresee that, which is even stronger than the NATO, because in the NATO Article 5, it says that an attack to a member is considered as an attack to all the members, and the member must consider the degree of the response. The Article 42, paragraph 7 of the Treaty of the European Union say that when a European member state is attacked, the other European member state must provide assistance with all the available means. So, I mean, in political terms and in institutional objective, what we have in the Treaty of the European Union is even stronger. What is the problem? That in NATO, we have developed some military capability. And in the European Union, we haven't developed our own military capability. And we need to develop it, because we need to become more autonomous, because we cannot depend, our security, this is a position of the European Democrat, cannot depend on the choice of the American voters every 4 years. Because today we depend, we are totally dependent on the United States. We are totally dependent on the choice that the European voters, the American voters do. And this is why now we are in a crisis situation, because Donald Trump sees the European Union as an obstacle to his strategy. And this is absolutely, I mean, a shock for many Europeans. We think, as European Democrats, that this crisis, this difficulty must be used to promote our autonomy as Europeans and to provide us also defense capability to be credible. And this is absolutely our fight. But I always insist this must go hand in hand with more common resources, more common good, and a better European governance.
So one of the most common questions we have received is about the relationship with Russia. and people are asking, is Russia really our enemy? Why is Russia such a big threat to Europe? Because we keep talking about defense and defense, and people are concerned that by supporting Ukraine, we're just provoking a confrontation with a country that might not be an enemy of Europe. And so for example, Effie has summarized this question in saying, do you honestly believe that Russia is the enemy of Europe?
I don't believe that Russia as such is the enemy of Europe. And our leader, François Bayrou, myself, will never say that the Russians are enemy of Europe. We say that what Putin is doing is very harmful to both Russia and the European Union, because the attack of Putin against Ukraine has destroyed all the principles and the agreement that we had since the Helsinki Act of 1976 and since the end of the Cold War. There was respect of territorial integrity, negotiation about minority rights without opening a conflict, even hard negotiation to ensure the right of each minority in Europe without opening a conflict. Putin has decided to tackle the issue of the Russian-speaking part in Ukraine by launching a war. And so we are not against Russians. We know that Russia belongs to Europe. We are against the Putin policy, the Putin strategy. This is a strong difference. This is a strong position of us as European Democrats. In a future post-Putin, I mean, we have launched this idea of the European political community. I mean, of having a big forum, a big framework of 45 countries, European countries that must discuss about how to organize the security and the stability and the coexistence in the continent in the future. It is clear that for us, after Putin, Russia should be in this community. So, I mean, I think I've been clear in drawing distinction between our historical relation with Russia and the Russian people and our opposition to Putin policies and Putin wars.
We have several questions online, including from Yorgos, who is asking if we're observing his questions. Ναι, τις βλέπουμε τις ερωτήσεις. And Yorgos has asked a couple of very good questions. One of them is, what is the position regarding the Turkish intervention or invasion in Cyprus? What is the European Democrats' position regarding the Turkish invasion and occupation of Cyprus?
That is an invasion, that it is an occupation, that it should have stopped yesterday. And the position of many of us that this issue of Turkish candidacy to the European Union now is just a formality, because Turkish cannot be a member of the European Union, especially cannot be a member of the European Union with Erdogan and with the autocratic policy of Erdogan. And we stand strongly.
That is a big message, I think, that the Greek people, should be interested in hearing that, that is, the position of the Democrats.
Absolutely. And also what is happening in Istanbul, what is happening against the mayor of Istanbul, Imamoglu, it is totally unacceptable. And if you look at our social networks in these days, you will find that we are the most active party in supporting the opposition fight against Erdogan in Turkey at the moment.
Yorgos has another good question, which is, what is the position regarding European policy on borders? What do we think? What do European Democrats think on Europe's borders?
We think that we have to consider the external borders as common borders, as European borders, that we have to support much more the countries which have an external borders. And I know what I'm talking about because I have been minister in Europe during the migratory crisis in Lampedusa and Sicily. So I perfectly know how you feel, and I perfectly know how our Greek friends felt with the crisis in the island opposite to Turkey. So, I mean, we think that we should really, in a federalist approach, consider the common border as a European border, so more solidarity. We should make also the asylum procedure much more faster and more efficient, more uniform, because today there are too many differences. And we have also to do more using our budget, using as a visa to push the country of origin and the country of transit to better cooperate with the European Union. Because, I mean, we can better manage the border also if we start to really negotiate and to have the responsibility, the commitment of the country of origin and transit to tackle the trafficking of human beings, and also to help to return those who do not have the right to remain in the European Union. At the same time, we think that we have to do more on the regular migration. We have to do more to better manage economic migration, and we think that this is mainly a European task that Europe hasn't fulfilled yet, and that should be one of our priorities.
Let's switch gears a little bit and address one of the big issues that we have past 2 years been dealing with in Greece regarding this horrific train crash in Tempe, which took place about 2 years ago, February 28th, 2023. And since then, we have entered a period of what we believe as at the Movement for Democracy has been a political cover-up, as well as a legal cover-up in many ways. And we're dealing with a position of minister immunity regarding the potential criminal liabilities that ministers of the government have had. And a lot of Greek citizens are looking to Europe for support in ensuring that the rule of law in Greece can be improved and that justice be served in this case. And one of the questions regarding the Tempe strategy is how can the European Union help in delivering justice, given that Kostas is the Commissioner of Transport, and that Ms. Vosenberg is an MEP from the People's Party, who is in charge of Transportation Committee.
Well, I mean, I think that Tempe is one of the biggest scandal of our recent years in Europe. It is disgusting what has happened, and I think that those who are responsible should feel ashamed of the way of many things. First of all, the European dimension is the fact that, according to my information, that correct me, Stéphanos, if I'm wrong, Greece has never used the European funds available for Greece to make the railways more modern, more efficient, and safer.
Sadly, they have used European funds, used and abused. So they've even squandered that.
Yeah, I mean, abused, exactly. Second, I understand that there is also a European dimension of the inquiry, because I understand the European Prosecutor Office is looking very carefully into this scandal. It was clear the lack of transparency. So, I mean, we want to put the pressure, taking a strictly European approach, because it's the most efficient. I mean, there are many aspects which are related to the domestic dimension. I mean, we don't want to replace ourselves to the prosecutor or to the judges, but we want to ensure that the matter is finally treated in the respect of rule of law, and the rule of law is a competence of the European Union. We can pretend that the rule of law principles are respected from the perspective of transparency, from the perspective of the respect of the safety rules which have been decided at European level, and that I'm not sure have been respected by the Greek government, then it is clear that it is a fight, and this is why I think that we need you and you need us. It is a fight that we do against a big actor like the European People's Party. And to fight against the European People's Party in certain moment against a party of oligarch like Nea Demokratia in Greece, you need to join forces. And so, we need. I am very, very interesting and looking forward to have you as full member of our party, because we need a voice from Greece. We need someone who tell us also what is really happening. And we need also the possibility through you to be present with our values, with our demand of transparency, with our political means to put pressure on the Demokratia in Greece. So, and we will push in the European Parliament. We will push also looking at other political forces which are interested in making, if having more, clarity on the situation, if it is necessary, also adopting sanctions as far as the European principles and rules have been violated against the Greek government. So, and on this, you were asking me about the European Democrats Renew. Renew is a parliamentary alliance where we, European Democrats, have struck an alliance with other parties. But it is an alliance that allows us as European Democrats to be more influential on key battles. And this is going to be a key battle. And on this battle, I am absolutely sure that we will manage to have our parliamentary group. We are a party and we have done an alliance in the parliament as a parliamentary group, but our parliamentary group Renew we stand firm by your side. And this is the way we will put pressure. It is very embarrassing. It is very embarrassing for the European People's Party, for Nea Demokratia. And I think that if we make our voice louder and if we act in a smart way, it's gone very difficult for the EPP to continue to defend the indefendable. Because what Mitsotakis has done is indefendable.
Do you think the issue of Tempe should be brought forward to the European Parliament again in terms of a discussion?
Absolutely, I think so. I think that in one of the next plenary in the European Parliament, we should do so, and we will certainly do so once that we decided to be in the same party. It will be the first request that we will make to the parliamentary group, and I'm convinced. I know that the parliamentary group will support this request because it is a battle for our values and because it's the right battle to do. So yes, I'm sure that one that the movement of democracy becomes formally a member of the European Democrats, I can guarantee that this is going to be the first initiative and the first request we will do together with you, Stéphanos, in our parliamentary group Renew to push toward this direction.
Look, I think it's a matter of European Union citizens, losing their lives because politicians had criminal negligence, to say the least. And so I think it's very important that this be brought to the European Parliament again. Particularly because there's a huge operation covering this up in Greece, both in terms of trying to throw the blame on a minister that was not responsible, let's say per se, for the actual crash in the first place, and the minister who was responsible for the crash comes from one of these the oligarchical families you talked about, Karamanlis family, and he's nowhere close to being, let's say, put forth toward justice, and so it's very, very upsetting for Greek people, and I want to just say encourage you and all MEPs to really try to stand by the Greek people because we have a huge crisis of justice in our country. and we're looking to the European Union for support on that. And so, I appreciate your words on this. Let's talk a little bit about the European Union and the institutions. I mean, you've been in Europe for in a very long time. You're literally epitomizing the European Union in your own life and your own politics. So the question is, what do you think of the European treaties? How should they change? How can we integrate more participatory democracy? How can we make Europe, the European Union, more responsive to the European peoples?
Well, I mean, yeah, it is true that, I mean, as you say, I got a long experience in the European Union, and I work basically in all the European institutions. For me, it is there is a strong need to reform European institution and European democracy. European democracy must be relaunched through different ways. On the representative democracy side, we have to strengthen the power of the European Parliament. The Parliament has grown a lot, but we are not there yet. We want to provide the European Parliament the right of initiative. We want the European Parliament to be on a total equal footing with the Council. So we want the representative of the citizens to have exactly the same power as the representative of the member state. And there are still issues on which we do not have this power. This is why, and this is a strong point of your program, you want to fix fiscal justice and tax justice. I saw that it was a strong point of your new beginning.
The proclamation.
The proclamation. We want the same at European level. There is a strong taxation injustice at European level. Why there is this taxation injustice? Because it is still decided by unanimity, and because the European Parliament doesn't play a role. And this is not possible. You cannot have a single currency, a single market, and being unable to do anything on the issue of taxation and taxation justice. So, I mean, we want stronger power for the European Parliament. As I told you, we want to develop a truly transnational politics. So we want to elect a part of our member voting directly the European political parties. So tomorrow, if we had this system, the European Democrats would have their list everywhere in Europe, and we could elect a part of the European member of the European Parliament voting the European Democrat directly, the same common list everywhere. Of course, we would keep also the national constituency, but we would like to enrich it with the European constituency. And then we have to fully develop the opportunity of the digital era. Democracy can be really strengthened by better use the digital technology and the digital means. So we want to arrive even a sort of European referenda. We want to strengthen the citizens' right of initiative. The European citizens have the right to propose laws at European level, but today everything is blocked by the European Commission, and everything is difficult because not everywhere you can collect the signature through the digital means. We think that we want a Europe where if 1 million, 2 million European citizens ask to launch an initiative, we want the initiative to be discussed, at least to be discussed at European level. Today is not the case. The European Commission decides whether to give a follow-up or not. This is not a real democracy. We want to promote a new form of direct democracy. And on that, let me say what we did as European Democrats. In France, as I told you, now I live in France, we have prepared the debate on climate law with the Citizens' Convention. So we have, on one side, we have selected randomly citizens everywhere in France. They have met for months, they have discussed for months, hundreds of citizens about what they expected from a new climate legislation in France. And then we have adopted some laws as a follow-up to what the citizens want. We have done the same on a very sensitive issue, ethic issue such as the end of life. there is a big debate about end of life, we said, let's listen to the citizens. And now the French Parliament is discussing two laws, which is really a follow-up to what the citizens requested on end of life. And we have launched a big process at European level. Unfortunately, neither the media nor the government has helped us. But I mean, in 2020, we have launched a big European conference on the future of the Union. What was this conference? This conference was, first of all, a continuous debate for 1 year of almost 1,000 citizens selected randomly in the 27 member states. The citizens were totally free to meet. They were only experts, which were moderating, but no politician. And there were people from Greece, there were bank employees from Estonia, there was retired people from Italy. I mean, it was really representative of the European society. They have worked for months and months about what they wanted to do, what they wanted Europe to do, and what they were hoping that Europe would do. And then a representative of the citizens, 150, met for several months, representative of the European Parliament, representative of the National Parliament, representative of the institutions, and representative of the government. And we end up with very good 49 recommendations on the future of Union. We took most of them in our manifesto of the European Democrats at the European elections. Why we didn't make the difference that we wanted to do? Because the media didn't help us, because the media didn't really, I mean, they didn't give the right importance, but much more important, the government in the European Council choosing deliberately to ignore the citizens' request. And this is, for us, is totally unacceptable. And this is why we insist in our electoral manifesto that this cannot happen again. So we have to build up in this form of direct democracy. I have followed your commitment, your endeavor, Stéphanos. I follow your party. And I think that from this perspective, we can learn a lot also from what you are doing, and to use your good practice to promote this good practice at European level.
Well, you're welcome to lease our technology system, which our volunteers have designed, front end and back end, to be able to vote on many different things. Of course, our participation in any European party will be voted by our party base as well, and this is a good opportunity for everybody to hear the European Democrats' views and be able to make their own judgment and their own view on how politics is changing these days in a way that's more about values and kind of applied politics compared to the labels of the past, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people are struggling with, because especially in Greece, there's been a very long period of internal conflict, starting from the Civil War, after World War II, and it took a very long time because people aligned with the left were excluded from the government apparatus and the whole network of economic interests that followed the government apparatus in the 50s and 60s. Then we had a coup d'etat, a junta, and finally it was in 1981 that we had, let's say, a reckoning of both sides, like a true, not necessarily a truce, but like a coming together and moving forward, as brothers in the same country, so to speak. And so it Greece might be the birthplace of democracy, but our modern democracy here is quite young and has been quite fragile for some time. One of the things that's a big issue here is that we don't have the right checks and balances. The leadership of the highest courts, the Supreme Courts, are proposed by the government. They're not independently selected. And in fact, the government, like in any parliamentary system, is of course decided by the parliamentary majority, and we have a system here that has some type of bonus seats and whatnot for the first party to give them an edge on having a majority. And it's been a very long, coalition governments is not part of the culture here. We had this in the years that succeeded the financial crisis, and it's been a very long period for Greek people. They feel that okay, we joined the EU and we have benefited from it in many ways, but at the same time, this country went bankrupt because of course, we're not blaming anyone else for this. This is internal decisions that led to that state of affairs. And subsequently, though, the behavior of Germany in particular was very aggressive towards Greece and trying to make a lesson out of Greece for everyone else. And in fact, the policies proposed back then by Wolfgang Schäuble were too austere and created a vicious cycle of like essentially a depression in the country that lost 25% of its GDP, and then with deflation, and it was really difficult. And after that, we've had the COVID years, and then we had with wiretapping scandal that you may be aware of, but there was illegal spyware that was employed by the National Intelligence Agency, which Prime Minister Mitsotakis literally in-housed in the Prime Minister's office. Well, the first thing that Mitsotakis did was to bring in the intelligence agency inside his office. He's the actual political officer in charge of the intelligence agency, which shows you the grasp of power that he has, tried to cement. And he's done that very successfully, and cementing the power, I mean. And so, I'm very proud of our party, the Win for Democracy, as well as many of the people that have followed me and us from my series of days. That we're trying to make a real change in this country. We're trying to make this country a modern, viable, vibrant democracy, and we want my vision. Besides cleansing the public sector and making this country operate efficiently with a humanist approach, as you said, which is very important. We call this like a social or a humanist oriented policy. But also, we want Greece to be a country of production. We want to produce things. We want Made in Greece to be meaningful. And one of the things we're looking for, I think we as Movement of Democracy are looking to, regarding the relationship with Europe and France in particular, is taking advantage of the experience when it comes to infrastructure projects like the railway, having trains like the TGV, in Greece, and being able to develop that infrastructure on our own. We already have a defense partnership, both in aircraft and in the Navy. But I think it's one of those things where we want to be able to cultivate that relationship, to be able to have our in-house, our internal production capacity, as well as I think we have the alignment when it comes to the agricultural sector that unfortunately we don't have with Germany. And I will say one more thing. I mean that is important to me personally and our party, and that is the stance on Palestine. We understand the security interests are multidimensional and difficult to grasp, but there is a point when raising or tearing down 80% of Gaza cannot go unpunished, and Europe cannot just turn a blind eye on that. And we were hoping that the European Union would have taken a much clearer stance on that than what von der Leyen took. And so maybe like this is a just a maybe an opportunity for you to say the European Democrat stance on Palestine, and and then I will take some questions here from the crowd as well, which have popped up.
Well, I mean, many things in your comment, dear Stefanos. Let me start from the beginning, for your beginning. You recalled what I have done and when I was minister in Italy. Let me say that I've been, I don't say it now to please you because I made the interview, and today you cannot lie because the social media are there to be verified. I've been one of the strong opponents to Wolfgang Schäuble and to Wolfgang Schäuble's stance against Greece. And together with Matteo Renzi, who is, by the way, the Italian member of our party, Italia Viva is a member of the European Democrats, and at the time with François Hollande, who was the French president, the president of the French Republic, we strongly fought against Wolfgang Schäuble. Wolfgang Schäuble wanted to kick Greece out of the Eurozone. He had a punitive attitude toward Greece. His attitude, private attitude, was much worse than his public stances. And we fought a lot. We always remember that day. It was July 2016. When the European summit, I was with Matteo Renzi because I was his Europe minister and I was also his closest advisor. I mean, I was always with him in the European summit. We entered on Thursday at 6 o'clock. No, we entered Thursday at 4 o'clock, and we got out of the European summit on Saturday, spending day and night to negotiate and to convince, and we finally managed to convince Angela Merkel to not listen to his economic minister anymore, Wolfgang Schäuble, and to allow us to keep Greece in the Eurozone. So I want to say this because it's something on which I strongly believed, because I think that Europe, it's impossible to think of Europe without Greece. And for many reasons, historical, philosophical, brotherhood reason. And honestly, I've always been convinced that if Greece had led the Eurozone, Greece would have been obliged even to leave the Union at a certain stage. And this attitude of the German right, to me, was outrageous. So, I mean, this is very important because I think, because I'm a real friend of Greece. I know Greece very well. I've been following Greece evolution. This is why I've been following you, Stefano, since you decided to enter Greek politics. You didn't know me, but I knew you. And this is why I'm here tonight, by the way, because I really think that Greece needs a new leader like you, needs a new movement like you. And let me see that I think that also you need the faithful and loyal allies like we can be. This is for the part on Schäuble. For the part on infrastructure, I strongly agree. It is clear that, one of our most important parties, my current party, the Democratic Movement in France, of François Bayrou. François Bayrou at the moment is the French Prime Minister, but in any case is a key figure of French politics. Even if tomorrow things turn bad for him, we will always have a very influential figures of French politics. So it is clear that as far as we can, as European Party, we will favor cooperation between Greece and France on infrastructure, on industrial project. I think that we can think of joint venture. We can think of common project in key sectors. Certainly, infrastructure is a sector on which we have to do much more and much better in Greece. So, also from this perspective, and there are also already some joint venture, joint industrial initiative in the maritime sector, in the naval sector that we can work on. On Palestine,
tell me something. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, please.
No, go ahead on Palestine, and then I have a question regarding Bayrou and Macron, which a lot of people have also asked us tonight about.
On Palestine, your position is practically the same position as many members of our party. We are organizing. We were talking about organizing our mission, our trip to Greece. I'm looking forward to coming. There should be also the Basque member of our party to come, Oiane, and her position, our party from Spain position is exactly like yours. The Belgian position is exactly like yours. The Irish position of our party is exactly like yours. So, I mean, we think that Netanyahu is committing a deep historical mistake, not only for the cause of peace and for the two-state, two-people solutions, but also for the stance of Israel, because what is happening is absolutely disproportionate and outrageous. So we are committed for a just peace, but we are very concerned about the fact that Netanyahu is going more and more along extremist and stances, and also the fact that, I mean, after all, is enhancing and strengthening his links with all the extreme right parties around the world. It is a matter of concern. So I think that also on the Palestine issue, you will find many points of convergence between our current members and you, I hope, as a future member. Then you wanted to ask me about Emmanuel Macron and François Bayrou.
Well, there's I'd say there's certainly an anxiety in our party base regarding the interaction with Renew, and its view. Renew Europe is viewed as Macron's party, correctly or incorrectly. You talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but feel free to kind of double down on the explanation. I wouldn't say that Macron is viewed as center left in Greece, let's say, in those terms. And so, maybe you could talk a little bit about, what exactly the positioning is. And I think a lot of people from our membership want to know that our values, what we believe in, and our heritage is not going to be coerced or pressured into changing into something that might appear as center right, let's say, in old terms.
Okay, so first of all, Emmanuel Macron is the French president. He comes from the Socialist Party. He has made choices which have been considered as center-right choices in some cases. For example, the issue of the retirement system, the pension system reform. But Emmanuel Macron is not a leader of a party at European level. Renew Europe, first of all, Renew Europe is not a party. Renew Europe is a parliamentary alliance, and that is very important. There is a strong distinction. Renew Europe exists only within the European Parliament. Why? Because, we have decided, but already a while ago, even before Macron, we had decided, we Democrats, François Bayrou, Romano Prodi, the founder of the European Democrat, decided to strike a parliamentary alliance with, Lib Dem and liberals at the center of this political spectrum, because we wanted to create a real alternative to the old left and to the EPP, which was drifting to the extreme right. So, we decided as Democrats to have our own party, have our own identity. Our own identity and our own values are those we have been talking about the whole evening tonight with you and with our friends who are listening to us. And we are Democrats. We are not liberal, even less neoliberal. We have negotiating a program, political priorities to move ahead to fight for with the ALDE, which is the Lib Dem party, within the European Parliament. And so far, it has worked. So far, we have managed to reach important objectives on the clean tech transition, on the reform of the electoral law, on the reform of the treaty, on the protection of rule of law, on the new digital legislation, on the Green Deal. There are many achievements that we have managed to get thanks to this alliance. But it is a parliamentary alliance. Macron is not the leader of the Renew, because Renew is not a party. And we think that, the stronger we get, the more influential we will be in promoting our democratic agenda. So, I mean, there is a parliamentary coalition within the European Parliament. Outside, we are a European political party, independent. We are not liberal. We are independent. We are autonomous. We got already we are very proud of the path that we have done so far with people like Bayrou and Prodi, and we want to continue with Bayrou, with our leaders, and I hope also with you.
How would you describe the differences between the European Democrats and then the alliance of Renew on the one hand and the alliance of the socialists and the European Parliament on the other hand?
Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, we have
what are the dividing lines? You know, like what are the main dividing lines you have encountered in the last few years?
Within Renew or between Renew and
between. So you have the European Democrats that, let's say, are have had to, let's say, make an alliance and as part of Renew with the Lib Dems, who may have some different positions on several issues, and then you have the Social Democrats on the other side in Europe. And so I think when you look at the political landscape, what are the political differences that you see, like between Renew as an alliance and the S&D party on the other hand?
Well, I mean, if I have to look at the experience so far, Renew is much more dynamic, is much more open to innovation, be it technological innovation, green innovation, and also is much less ideological. I mean, is value-based, value-centered, value-oriented, but much less ideological. So, I mean, it has been open to innovative solutions because the solution seems to be the good ones. The Social Democrats are, most of them, really the old socialist guard. They are pretty ideological. They sometimes say no to issue like the digital innovation or some aspect of the Green Deal or some aspect of artificial intelligence based on, I mean, prejudgment and I repeat, I mean, all the cleavages. So, I mean, we think that we are more dynamic because we really want to embody a new way of doing politics. The Social Democrats, on many issues, in the way they function, in the way even their party, the European Socialist Party, function, they're really, I mean, the old guard, the old politics. We are much more federalist in terms of European terms. I mean, I have been the president of European European Federalists for many years. And this is also, I mean, even if among the Lib Dem with which we have struck an alliance, they are strong federalists. Take Guy Verhofstadt has been the leader of ALDE for a long time. The former Belgian Prime Minister is a strong federalist. The word federalist sometimes is a shameful word for most of the Social Democrats. So, I mean, I would say that. And we are also much freer. I mean, we believe in dialogue with civil society. We believe in dialogue with organized society. We believe in dialogue with, the Confederation of Industry and Trade Unions. But we are not the spokesperson, or we are not there to execute what the trade unions tell us to do. I got the impression that on many issues, the member of the Socialist Party in the European Parliament execute what the trade unions tell us to do. This is not our way of doing politics. We are for dialogue, we are for pluralism, but we want to have our autonomy. I would say that these are, I mean, the first difference that come up to my mind to answer to your question.
I don't think you're gonna make too many friends with this answer, but I hope I'm sure you'll be diplomatic about it in person with them. Pythagorean Editions is asking, what are the general views of the EDP on the status of globalization, particularly regarding the current U.S. policies against the European Union?
It's very clear. We are very concerned. First of all, I mean, we are trying. We've always tried to have a an open dialogue and strong links with the American Democrats, even if they are in a difficult position. And we think that the choice of Donald Trump is a choice which go directly against the interest of the European Union. Donald Trump considered the European Union as an obstacle to his imperialistic stances. Donald Trump has got an imperial approach. He wants to work around the sphere of influence. He wants to have a power deal with Moscow on the back of the Europeans, and the European Union is seen by this current US administration as an obstacle to their strategy. This is why they think, they say that the EU was born to screw US, which is, by the way, an historical, I mean, it's false historically, but it's also an aggressive attitude. We are totally against what Vance said in Munich. They hate our fight for LGBTIQ rights. They hate our fight for minority rights. They hate our commitment to rule of law. They hate of this, and this is why they are the allies of Marine Le Pen, Matteo Salvini, Giorgia Meloni, etc. So, I mean, we think that we have to strengthen the European Union. We have, once again, I repeat, to turn the European Union into a federation, into a real political actor. We have to reform the governance. Why? Because it's the only way to protect our values and promote our interests. This is the time. So we think that the logic of the balance of power of Trump is very bad. We think that it will allow China to use the same logic against Taiwan. It legitimizes the imperialistic attitude of Russia, and we don't want this world organized about balance of power, where the stronger tell to the weaker what to do. We are for democracy also at the global level. We want to relaunch multilateralism on a new way. We want to promote an alliance of democracy worldwide. And all these things, you can find them in our electoral manifesto. So I'm not making up anything tonight. I'm just really spelling out what we have already written and what those who are listening can verify live, going on our website and taking our electoral manifesto of 2024.
I will read a question written in Greek by Giorgos Taxidarakis, and I'm going to be translating it. That says, why should Europe send troops to, or military aid or troops, let's say, to Ukraine as Macron is asking for?
Now, Macron is not asking to send troops now. Now we have decided to help Ukraine from the military, humanitarian, economic point of view. Macron says another thing. Macron is working to have the Europeans at the table of the negotiation, and we are not at the table at the moment. And by the way, this table doesn't seem to be very effective because, I mean, the Americans are talking to Ukrainians, and they send out a declaration. Then they negotiate with the Russian, and they release another declaration which is not coincident with the first one. And then the Russian are making declaration which contradict the American-Russian declaration. So at the moment, and by the way, the fact that yesterday and today Trump came out so strongly against Putin showed that the negotiations are not working. But certainly this is not an acceptable solution for us as Europeans, because we are talking about the future of European security without the Europeans. So what Macron is doing is gathering with the summit, is to put together enough credibility, enough strength of the Europeans, first of all, to be at the table of the negotiation. And then he say, it is clear that if we want to be credible, if we are serious about the idea of European defense, we must be also take on the responsibility after the peace is done to keep the peace. And in this post-conflict situation, to keep the peace might be necessary to send troops on the ground as peacekeeping mission. And Macron, what does Macron say? That we cannot hide behind the US, behind the UN. We must be ready to take on our responsibility. And this is part of our approach to European defense. So I think that it helps a real long-lasting peace. It's not absolutely not an aggressive or a decision to take part in a conflict. It is after the conflict, when the peace is done, and it is a contribution as European to make the peace stable and long-lasting.
There's a question addressed to me from Nicolas Stasinopoulos, who says, how should Greece uphold a strategic relationship with Israel while counterbalancing for the ongoing threat from Turkey? That is a very good question. It's a difficult question because, in fact, Greece does have benefits from a multidimensional relationship with all regional players, Israel included. But my view is that that there's a limit to European values, and there's red lines to them. And when you see a disproportionate response that goes against women and children, and without resolving the actual root of a terrorist organization that is Hamas. But not only that, you can actually be radicalizing people more by doing this. I just don't think that the visit by the Greek Prime Minister in Israel the past few days, and the amount of let's say the very joyful advertising of the interaction, I think it does not really match what has happened on the ground from a humanist standpoint, from a pure just ethics standpoint. And I think the European Union, as you and I, Sandro, have talked before about this issue, is we want a more federal European Union. We want the European Union to be supporting one member, the other member, one another. But if we turn a blind eye on values, on human values, on these like basic ethics, and we become just an institution of power sharing or entrenched interests or financial and military interests, then we're not going to be inspiring the European peoples for more European Union. And so I think the European Union is well served to take a clear stance when it sees ethical and humanitarian issues like what's happened in Gaza take place. And I think it will benefit everybody to know the European Union is not condoning this type of um, of intervention. I mean, this I've been just so you're aware, I have spoken very vehemently about Israel's actions, and I'm not. I'm proud of my stance on this. I'm the only Greek politician that has been to the area and has spent time in Ramallah and Bethlehem, and has spent time with local families without pretending to be balanced on the issue. And I think that Greece should continue, of course, having a dialogue with everybody, but it should not be condoning. We should not be condoning an attack on the whole peoples. That is, I mean, I have called this genocide in the past, as it has been taking place, and it's no longer in the news as much, which I think is problematic. It probably shows that the damage has largely occurred already, which is what happens in these cases. There's like less damage, and we cannot just be forgetting this and moving on. I think the European Union needs to take a very, very clear stance that that normalcy is not going to resume unless there's a very significant. I mean, I honestly don't know how normalcy can resume after what has happened there, but it certainly cannot happen by by just pretending nothing has happened, which is what I think took place in the way I saw the Greek Prime Minister interact with Benjamin Netanyahu. Anyway, that is my response to that question, and then I will address a question here from Eleni Spanopoulou, who says, given the difficult and complex situation, what do you believe the EU's first line of defense to protect its borders, citizens, and peace should be? What is the EU's first line of defense given the current geopolitical situation?
This to me? Well, I mean,
yeah, you. I spoke for a few minutes.
The
So that's all yours.
The first line of defense is, in my view, to show the sense of urgency and the sense of history. Today, I mean, I think that it was Lenin who said, apparently it was Lenin who said that there are decades where nothing happened, and there are weeks where decades happen. We are living in these weeks. So, I mean, the complex and difficult international geopolitical situation must push, and this is absolutely the policy and the stance of the European Democrats, to not waste time anymore. We have wasted 72 years. We were meant to start our European journey with political union based on a community of European defense. European defense community, which was strongly federal, very democratic, and truly political union, was rejected by the Gaullists and by the communists in the French Chamber of Deputies. So we have lost first time 72 years. Then we have lost 42 years, because in 1993 we signed the Treaty of the European Union, the Treaty of Maastricht. The Treaty of Maastricht foresee to establish a common foreign and security policy. But today, sorry, apart from some cases, we do not have a common foreign and security policy. Do we want, as Europeans, to exist on the international scene with our value, with our humanist approach, with our rule of law, and also with our interest, economic interest, industrial interest, digital interest, or we want to disappear from the geopolitical map? If we want to exist, we have to accelerate the reform of the European Union. And again, more power, economic and military power, more efficiency, decision-making process, and more democracy. This is the trio, I would say. More democracy, more efficiency, more power. The three must go hand in hand. We are against having a more powerful union which is not democratic enough, is not efficient enough. Having a more democratic union which doesn't have the means to act is useless. And having a democratic union which is not efficient then push people in the end of the autocrat. So this is what we have to do. And we have to do it now. Because, I mean, tough for us. We are not a generation who live in easy times. Okay? No, we live in hard times. But our founding mothers and fathers invented this wonderful project for humanity, which is the European Union, 5 years after the end of the Second World War, 5 years after the discovery of Auschwitz camp, 5 years after of the Shoah. So they made the impossible. We don't make the impossible. We are only to do some very difficult thing, but they're not impossible.
We are complacent, but we're also disappointed. I think that's a big part of what needs to be resolved here. There's a credibility deficit in Brussels. Big credibility deficit.
Stefan, you are very right. Let's get rid of this complacency and let's get rid of this feeling of disappointment. We must react. We must react, and we must do it now.
We have a question on Facebook from Apostolos Michalopoulos, who says, what is the Democrats' opinion about public health and public insurance?
But they are fundamental. And health must be a European public good. And we have proposed to reform the treaty because we think that the competencies of the European Union on health are not enough. are not enough. Of course, I mean, there are a part of the thing that we have to do at national level, a part of the things that I have to do at regional, local level, and I would like to come back on this decentralization issue, Stéphanos. But there are a lot of things that we have started to do at European level. And our approach as European Democrats that we need a European public goods policy. And this, among this European public good, health is one of our priorities. This is why we push for a European health union. And also this, I know that I repeat myself, also this you find in our electoral manifesto in 2024. Because we think it is essential. And also we want a decentralized Europe. I know that your movement wants a decentralized state. Let me say that this is one of our priorities. We are the only European party which organized a summit of the European mayors. For us, European politics start at mayors level. The mayors are the first ambassador of European values and policies. So we have to empower the mayors. We have to push for decentralization. After all, our president is a mayor of a small city, which is Pau in southeast France. Yeah. And we are the only one who push, and also this you can find in our electoral manifesto, who push for having the mayors as the first European actors. This is very important.
You had a conference of mayors that are part of the party?
Yeah. The mayor who belong to the European Democrats meets every year as a congress, and they discuss about, the European priorities from the local perspective.
It's huge here because we have 20 of the poorest regions in Europe. 20 out of the 240 regions, we have 20 of the poorest ones in Greece.
But for us, this is very important. And this is why you were talking about Renew. Renew Alliance exists also in the Committee of the Regions. And with the president of the Renew group in the Committee of the Regions, the European Democrats, is a mayor of Saint-Omer, a friend, a very close friend of mine, who is mayor of Saint-Omer, which is a small city of 30,000 inhabitants in North France, where there are strong deindustrialization problem. And in the Committee of the Region, we have the presidency. Why? Because we are the most credible. Because we are those who really invest on the region and local policies. And the other aspect that I think that it is unique of us as European Party, and also this you can find the electoral manifesto. First of all, for us, security is not only police and military. Security is also culture. So we say for every euro that we spend on security, you have to spend an euro on culture.
That's actually one of the questions we have received here. And from Evangelis, who said, Manolopoulos, who said, Greece is facing a lack of funding in the cultural sector, particularly for the restoration of cultural heritage monuments. Do you believe that the EU funds allocated for culture are sufficient, or should they be increased? What initiatives
they are not sufficient. They are not sufficient because we have to change the paradigm. And the paradigm is this, that culture is a fundamental feature of our well-being, of our prosperity, but also of our security. And this is why we think we want to promote a real security. We have to protect our heritage, we have to promote our heritage, and we have to put culture at the same level of our new policy. This is why, our fundamental approach is for each euro that we spend on security, another euro must spend on culture. That means to revise a totally new approach to the European budget in terms of culture. Second, we don't believe that the current EU programs are enough. Of course, we can do more for the heritage, for the monuments, for the cultural heritage, using better the cohesion fund. Certainly, we have to do so. We don't have to look at culture only looking at the Creative Europe, because the Creative Europe is a good program, but it's too small. But we have to go beyond. We are we support, and we are in the culture committee. One of the coordinators is our member, Laurence Farhang. She's a member of the European Democrat, and she's pushing for having a truly European European culture compass. So, to identify culture as one of the main objectives to which we have to put as a service of which the budget of the European Union. One of my proposals is to multiply the cultural budget by 10. And in absolute terms, wouldn't be dramatic. In relative terms, would make a huge difference. And also, this proposal you can find in our electoral manifesto. Culture is not an ancillary, secondary, complementary. Culture is at the heart. This is why we are humanists. A humanist movement. Why I said we are humanists. Now, I think that during our conversation, you see what humanism means for us.
It's a matter of priorities and culture, and prioritizing culture as a priority shows your culture. If you want to call it that way. And there's another question on this line of thinking, which is about the Democrats' position regarding unemployment and housing.
Well, on unemployment, we worked a lot at the time with the previous commission, and for example, during the COVID crisis, it's us that we are behind the SURE program. The SURE program was the program that provided funds at the European state to help them to tackle unemployment and to subsidize unemployment provoked by the COVID crisis. And those who were at the forefront of this fight, it was us. And it was us, it was Marie-Pierre Vedren, who is our member in the Social Affairs Committee. And at the time, we strongly fought to fight to have this approach. The child guarantee. The child guarantee is one of our initiatives. And now it's starting to be a reality. So, from this perspective, as I was saying, we want to have a balanced approach, and we think that at European level, the social dimension must turn into a reality. Today, we are not there yet. Then the other question, what was?
Housing.
Housing. Housing. We are the member of our party, which is Chiara Malloy, a party from Ireland, is the vice president of the Housing Committee. He's got a long experience fighting for housing justice in Ireland. I think it would be great if if we continue our journey together. Stéphanos, you organize a chat, a live discussion with him, because he's very, very committed in doing justice in this. Housing is a huge problem in our societies. Huge problem.
Yeah.
Huge
problem. It's one of the points I say here in my speeches, and it leaves people speechless, no pun intended. But it's when I tell them, think about this: a young couple with 2 kids living on rent, paying rent. There is no way, no matter how many years they work in Greece, given today's dynamics, that they will be able to buy a home of their own. There's just no way.
Right.
So there's something fundamentally wrong with the structure of our economy. And yes, there's things that affect the housing markets and housing stock and incentives and short-term rentals, and the need to regulate that, and the need to increase the holding cost for those with a lot of property, etc. But in the end of the day, the relative amount of ability to afford a home is, what we're comparing here, kind of inside the European Union. And in Greece, we're at a terrible level in terms of purchasing power. And it comes structurally because this economy has never been a free and open economy. And it's been granted to those who have had access to resources and connections, and the regulation and the rule of law around this has been very cumbersome in a way that has favored those with connections and capital. And the financial crisis in Greece has caused this disparity to just get out of proportion. And so we need that, the movements, our movements, policies are interventionist. We don't believe in big government. We don't believe in small government. We believe in smart government. But every country has its own starting point. And so our view is, given our starting point in Greece, we need an interventionist government that has flexibility and support from the European Union in terms of resolving these kind of critical social issues, and in turn creating a virtuous cycle instead of a vicious cycle, and then gradually stepping back. So that's kind of like how I view this. One of the other issues that I'm pretty big on long term is universal basic income, because I think there's an excessive concentration of wealth to those particularly who have had access to the tech industry, and again, the financial crisis and what's happened after, and COVID has exacerbated those differences. And so my question to you is, what is your opinion about what is the Democrats' opinion about universal basic income? Actually, John Ioannou has asked this question at 10:55 p.m. local time on YouTube. He says, "What is your opinion about universal basic income? How can this be balanced with the aging population of the European Union?"
No, we are very open. I mean, it's consider that we have already done a very important fight, which is linked but not the same thing, on the minimum wage, European minimum wage, and the advance that we have managed to do.
A European Union minimum wage.
Yeah, European Union minimum wage.
In nominal terms or in relative terms?
No. In a relative term compared to the purchasing power in each country. So I mean the median level, not of course, because I mean the minimum wage cannot be the same in Romania and in Germany or France. But this is one of our.
Don't worry, all of those countries are ahead of us in purchasing power. So it's only Bulgaria is tied with us, unfortunately.
So I mean we have to work on that. So I mean we have, and this is a big victory, and it is a victory in which we had two members of the European Democrats being at the forefront in the previous term, Sylvie Brunet and Marie-Pierre Vedrenne. So we have already won a big fight on the minimum wage. It was very difficult because there were strong opposition, reluctance, etc., but we managed. And we think that, I mean, we have to go beyond. So we are absolutely open to the idea of a European universal income. So far, we have already won an important battle in terms of social justice, which is the minimum wage.
Very good. Maybe we'll keep you for 5 more minutes, if that's okay. I guess everything, but there's a lot of very good questions coming in, which I'm very happy about to see, and very good engagement. There's some questions that are in Italian, but I'm not gonna read them. Let's say I would like to. There's a question here that has asked about how Europe feels regarding Cyprus being an occupied territory. Maybe you could.
I already answered it.
Yeah.
I have been in Cyprus. I have been at the Green Line, and it's horrific what I saw. And it's also horrific that the Turkish part is basically an offshore region of everything, of any illegal activities. And this is not acceptable. I mean, but I mean, there again, you can watch on my Twitter and Instagram the picture when I was in the Green Line. So I'm not pretending. I've been there and I already made my declaration.
Yeah. And then there's another question about education and your view, so Democrats' view on public versus private education.
Well, I mean, you know that this is not something that we decide at European level. In our experience, and consider that our president, François Bayrou, is a public education professor. He was a professor in the public education system. So we think that education and public education system is fundamental. is the basis of European citizenship, is the basis of European democracy, and we want to invest a lot also in education at European level. When I was talking about the cultural compass, it's basically a cultural and education compass, and this is why I think that would be very interested in the next future that you organize something with our coordinator. We as European Democrats, we got our coordinator in the Cultural and Education Committee with Laurence Farhang, and I think it would be very interesting to talk about her, but we are strongly committed and we want to Europeanize as much as we can the public education system. We want to open to mobility. We want to bring the idea of Erasmus at the high school. We want the high school student, public school, to benefit from the experience abroad. And we want also to, we cannot impose, but encourage the national education public system to talk more about the issue of our time. I mean, I think that European citizenship should be much better studied at school. I think that digital skills should be provided in the public education system very early. I don't say primary, I would say even primary school. I mean, we have to really talk to think about make our public system a system which produce better European citizens, but also more competitive European citizens.
I'll read a comment here, and I want your reaction on this. It's at 10:56 p.m. local time from on YouTube from handle Andres Zilel that says EU is corruption institutions. Maybe we can put this up on the screen. The EU is. What is your reaction to that?
That is absolutely false. I mean, EU is not corrupted institution. The EU is the biggest and best project that the mankind has ever produced, because to bring people together, respecting their diversity, to be united in our diversity, to work every day together to promote rule of law, to promote social cohesion, to promote growth, to promote prosperity, is the biggest project that the mankind has ever invented. Of course, corruption is part of the human nature. That has always been. Where there are human beings, there is the risk of corruption. And this is true because we are human beings also at European level, and we have to fight against corruption, and we have to fight for more transparency. And this is a fight where we are at the forefront as European Democrats. Look at the debate that we had yesterday in the plenary. There is my intervention. I had the honor to intervene on behalf of the European Democrats, on behalf of our parliamentary groups. Look, we want to create an ethic body at European level. It is a big priority of the European Democrats. We had promoted in the previous term. We had managed to have the approval of the European Parliament and to have an agreement with the Commission, with other institutions, to create an ethic body and to create ethic and transparency standards. Now, you know who is blocking this? Who is blocking the implementation of this? Surprise, surprise, European People's Party.
People's Party, of course. Always.
They are aligning with the extreme right. They are aligning with Meloni, Orban, Le Pen, Salvini, Vox, Golden Dawn, to say something which is familiar, unfortunately, to your ears, to block the implementation of the ethics body. So, I mean, this is our fight, and this is a fight that I'm sure
so in other words, Mitsotaki's party is blocking the ethics
party is blocking the ethic body. Absolutely.
You can't make this stuff up.
Absolutely.
We'll close with last. This is a great segue to the last question, and thank you so much for your time, and thank you to all our friends and guests for participating. Pythagorean Editions has another question posted just a minute ago that says, does the EU have a sufficient flow of elements that can make member countries reliant on each other for economic, social, political, and other reasons, leading to an integrated EU government?
Pythagorean, music for my ears. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, there are all the elements are there. There is social need, there is economic need, there is the need to face technological innovation. There is the threat which is coming from Beijing. There is the threat which is coming from Donald Trump. We have to wake up. Let's do it now. We have to do it now. What you call EU government, for me, is a federal Europe. Federal Europe, because federalism means democracy, means decentralization, means subsidiarity, means smart institution and smart state, because you have to identify what is the smartest way of intervening, of governing. And we have to do it now, no excuses. This is our time, and we have to fight together to achieve this objective.
Sandro, thank you very, very much for taking the time this evening to join us. I know this is something unusual for you, but I think it's unusual for me as well, and unusual for European politics in general, to be able to have, people so directly be able to ask questions, put a name to the face, be able to kind of see their reactions, and this is the type of new political culture that we are trying to bring in Greece as the movement for democracy. Of course, we have many naysayers and many people who think that this type of politics won't succeed because it's not part of the system, and everybody says the same things, etc., etc. But I think we. I think it's up to us to break these barriers and to create a new paradigma. You said paradigm in English, but paradigma in Greek, to be able to show a new model forth and to put it forth and kind of showcase that it's up to us to engage with our peoples, the people who trust us, to show that we can move past labels and have an interaction, because I do think, I'm a proud European citizen. I'm a proud Greek citizen. I've lived many years in the United States, and I've seen some of the positives in the United States. I've seen a lot of the negatives in the United States. But at the end of the day, going back to what you said, I culture is culture, and you cannot bend European culture. We have culture in this continent. We have culture in this union, and we need to deepen it. And we need to deepen it in a way that is good for the people as a whole. And so I think what you have said in terms of culture, housing, healthcare, universal basic income, the stance on Palestine, and of course you understand my and my party's position again. And I'm saying that I know we are, let's say, uh, philosophically close on this, but other people in the European Parliament are not like that, unfortunately. But we need to showcase values first of all in modern terms, and be innovative. Be innovative toward. There's a lot of challenges ahead. We had globalization. We still have globalization. Now the purchasing power of other areas is improving in a way that we're importing here in Greece. We have a lot of Chinese electric vehicles, for example, that we're importing, which is not something you would have expected 10 years ago, right?
Sure.
And so we have climate change. Just the past 2 days, we had massive rainfall and flooding in the Cycladic Islands in Mykonos and Paros. Again,
Oh,
like
so
these are scenes that you rarely see. And as I said in Paris during the summit that you were very kind to invite me at, the spending on climate is at least as important as spending on defense, right? Because in the end of the
absolutely.
day, we will be spending on climate, patching up the damages, let alone the human cost to it, and so again, thank you very much. I think we've had a lot of questions here pop in. Maybe we'll do a gathering of them and put out some more answers on our website, and feel free to share them on your website. So thank you again, and really appreciate it. Ευχαριστούμε σε όλους που μας παρακολουθήσατε. Ευχαριστούμε για την συμμετοχή σας. Good night, and speak to you soon. Thank you very much, Sandro.
Good night, and thank you for this opportunity, Stéphanos, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. you.